This is KGW News at 11.
It is a blessing to wake up this morning because some members of our community did not wake up this morning. We have to care about each other more because we don't know when our time might come.
The Buffalo community in New York is grieving tonight after an 18-year-old shot and killed nearly a dozen people in a racist attack. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Folgers. Oregon is ranked as one of the worst areas in the nation for violent and hate-fueled extremism. Galen Etland follows up on the broader issue here and how it's being addressed to prevent events like the one that's playing out in Buffalo.
The community of Buffalo, New York is mourning at least 10 people shot and killed Saturday at this grocery store.
It will be prosecuted as a hate crime.
Investigators say an 18-year-old gunman had an evil goal
of taking as many black lives as he possibly could.
Yes, sir. I understand my charges.
The shooter traveled several hundred miles from home and posted a manifesto online before the shooting. He called himself a white supremacist and referenced other racial attacks.
Sharing his information, his ideas, his hatred online. That's what scares me, is how far this virus is now spreading and how quickly.
And it just seems to be escalating.
Professor Randall Blazek is chair of Oregon's Coalition Against Hate and studies extremist ideology.
And it's really frightening how we've seen the normalization of some of the rhetoric that drives white supremacist violence.
They will deny jobs to people who have the wrong skin color.
A repeated narrative of being pushed out,
making white people feel like somehow the world is out to get them,
leading some to react in violence.
A sick, demented individual who has fueled a daily diet of hate.
And they believe that if they don't act now, that their country is going to go away. So there's this sort of ticking time bomb element to it.
A report from March about domestic terrorism and extremist attacks showed Oregon ranked the 6th highest in the nation for incidents between 2011 and 2020, making up 10% of all attacks in 2020 alone, despite Oregon ranking 27th in population. The state's audits director and the former U.S. attorney for Oregon both explained the problem.
We are one of only 16 states that do not have specific legislation criminalizing domestic terrorism.
People need to be held accountable, and if they know they're not going to be, well, we see what the result is.
Oregon has a history of extremism, from the Rajneesh poisoning of an entire county,
our purpose,
to the armed militia takeover at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge, and even more recent attacks on Portland's downtown Justice Center by the far left and attacks on Oregon's Capitol by the far right.
Break it in, mother.
They see themselves as good people.
Blazek tracks extremists online and has a $750,000 grant for an anti-violence program called Cure PDX.
Violence can spread from person to person, so if we can find places to interrupt that spread by having people within communities to kind of know who's the most contagious.
The program aims to reach potential offenders and avoid racist attacks, like in Buffalo.
I think people of color all over America today are having another reminder that there are people who want to kill them just for existing in their skin.
What is your message for people in the community kind of feeling this hopelessness, feeling this trauma?
What we're trying to do is help people to be more empathetic.
Galen Etland, KGW News.
Another shooting unfolding today in Orange County, California. A gunman entered a church there and shot 6 people. At least one of the victims has died. Police say the majority of people inside that building at the time are Taiwanese, and the shooter was of Asian descent and in their 60s. While they were quick to release some information, there are still a lot of unknowns.
Investigators are working to determine his city of residence and whether he has any connection to this church or to the congregation. At this time, we do not know what the suspect's motive may be or whether he had an intended target or whether this is even a hate-related incident.
Police believe members of the congregation actually detained the shooter and hogtied his legs with an extension cord before they confiscated his weapons. They say he was already detained when deputies got there. Well, now to a developing story back here in Oregon. Workers in the marijuana manufacturing business continue their strike for the 10th day because they say their employer won't recognize the new union that they just formed. You see, the workers striking are all employed by CBN Holdings in Gresham. They say the strike began because their employer refused to recognize their unionizing efforts. That's an accusation CBN Holdings denies. Well, the numbers of strikers changes every day. A small number were out today protesting. They say they want to form the union to address what they call unsafe working conditions on the farm.
Some of the specifics would involve like chemical and fire safety. We want better training, and we want to know what chemicals we're working with and the hazards that they pose. And we also, very reasonably, we want fire drills. We want to know which alarm sounds like what and what to do in the event of a fire.
Employees say CBN Holdings stated it would support the unionization effort, but it's been several days and they're yet to recognize that effort. Let's shift our focus now and talk about that forecast. Joe, oh my goodness, what a day. I woke up this morning kind of sleeping into some peaceful rain,
right.
And then boom, that switched.
It did. Late this afternoon, we saw temperatures right around 70 degrees. And believe it or not, this is the first time this spring where we've seen back-to-back days with temperatures 70 or above.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been really pleasant temperature-wise. Heading into tomorrow will be a little bit cooler, but we're going to be turning off the precipitation heading into the early part of your work week. As we look at the satellite and radar up and down the I-5 corridor, we basically have been done with the rain here the last couple of hours. It's been very active along the central and eastern side of the state near Pendleton, where you're seeing pretty severe weather with some heavy downpours, some thunderstorms. I saw on social media a gentleman tweeted out some pictures of practically golf ball sized hail throughout eastern Oregon. Now that those severe storms are moving in through parts of eastern Washington, still can't really let the chance see a little bit of some boomers move in throughout parts of Baker City and LeGrand late tonight and into early tomorrow morning. But again, it was another day with a decent amount of rain, about 0.2 of an inch of rain throughout the metro area, almost 1/3 of an inch along the northern Oregon coast. Astoria saw almost 1/4 of an inch earlier this afternoon. But as we go through the later part of the evening, what's left of it, I should say, we're going to be looking at mainly dry conditions. We'll be seeing a little bit of some light precipitation throughout your morning commute tomorrow. Again, rainfall amounts are to be relatively on the light side, less than 1/10 of an inch of rain. In fact, some models are showing even lighter amounts than that. And heading into tomorrow, we'll be seeing a little bit more of that sunshine. Tuesday, at this point, looks to be the best day of the work week with a little bit more of the sunshine and temperatures warming up a little bit. And then heading into the middle part of the week, we'll start to see a little bit of more rain move through us. But let's look at the rain amounts for late tonight and into tomorrow. Like I said, it's going to be practically non-existent, but you can see heading into Wednesday, we'll be seeing another round of some wet weather, but there is a little bit of some brighter side on the end of the forecast. I'll talk more about that in detail in about 10 minutes from now.
All right, Joe, thanks so much. And before that rain broke today, a celebration for Portland's larger-than-life former mayor, Bud Clark. He passed away in February after being diagnosed with congestive heart failure. Former city leaders, activists, community members, family, and friends all honored him at the memorial in the heart of the city. Just take a look.
Okay, is everyone ready?
Cyclists lead the way through Goose Hollow, a bike procession to the celebration of life for one of the biggest personalities in the history of Portland politics.
A small bike ride, a community-led memorial for former Portland Mayor Bud Clark.
Former Mayor Bud Clark died February 1st at 90 years old.
Bud was an icon for Portland.
Clark was Portland's mayor for 2 terms from 1985 to 1992. He was also an unabashed lover of Oregon, of Portland, a successful businessman, United States Marine, and yes, a bicycle-riding mayor who encouraged you to expose yourself to art.
That I really appreciate his spirit and what he brought to the city of Portland.
Sunday's memorial ride, put on by the Street Trust, took cyclists to sites of significance in Bud's life.
We're here at the Goose Hollow Inn, which he founded and ran for many years.
And they arrived at Portland's living room, Pioneer Courthouse Square, joining others to remember and celebrate Portland's citizen mayor.
He was the common man.
38 years ago today, Bud Clark was elected mayor of Portland. For many Portlanders, a dark cloud had just passed. And with the sun of a new day, they felt their ideas, their hopes, and their dreams would be listened to by a new leader at City Hall.
Bud, you seem to really love great blue herons. We need a city bird. And what do you think he said? Whoop, whoop.
Singer and political activist Kathleen Sadat shared the story of Bud after she was interviewed for a magazine when she came out as a lesbian in the early 90s.
One of the things that the interviewer asked me was, what was I afraid of? And I said, I was afraid no one would hug me. In the next couple of days, I was downtown in City Hall, and I heard somebody yell, and he never got my name right, "Hey, Catherine!" And I turned around, it was Bud Clark. And he yelled, "I'll hug you." And then he came where I was and gave me this huge hug. Always keep the memory of.
His daughter Rachel shared memories from his time out of the public eye, in particular, his love for nature.
Through that gorge that he found so majestic and awesome.
And the last camping trip they took before he passed.
I miss him a lot. So glad he got to go camping with us. And do those things this last year. He's a really tough guy.
Bud's was a life well lived, with love for his city, his family, and his community.
Thank you so much for being here to celebrate. He loved this city, and he loved all of you.
Can't take that away from me.